This is meteorologist Mark Molnar, and as always, I want to thank you for joining me for this edition of Weather Northeastern. And this is no laughing matter. This is Winter Storm in the Springtime edition. Yeah, you did hear me correctly. It's Winter Storm in the springtime. We're dealing with a winter-like pattern here in mid-April, very blocky, and we got a low-pressure system, a coastal low that's going to develop Thursday night into Friday across parts of the Northeast, upstate New York, Northeast Pennsylvania, New Jersey, northern New Jersey for that matter, and western New England, and into central and eventually northern New England. Could see some snowfall, accumulating snowfall out of this. So yes, this is wintry edition of Weather Northeastern. We'll cover the rest of the country as well as North America as well, but we're going to focus on the winter storm situation here across the Northeast. Let's get right into it. Winter storm in the springtime. Here we go again. It's not another April Fool's joke. If you remember the first snowstorm here on April Fool's Day, yeah, we're dealing with a low-pressure system, a coastal low for Thursday night and Friday. There it is. Look at that low, moderate, and high categories. Mainly the higher elevations, especially above 1,400 feet. We'll get those 5, 6, 7, 8-inch totals. And some of those 5 to 8-inch totals could be quite interesting, especially with the heavy wet snow, bring down some of the trees and power lines. So yeah, I throw that into the mix. It makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it? You get around 1,000 to 1,400 feet. That's where you're getting about 3 to 4 or 5 inches. And then we get down to the valley floor, 1 to 2 inches below 1,000 feet. You see anywhere from like Binghamton, Syracuse on eastward there. That's where we'll see accumulating snow. And it could get quite interesting here. We're in a very blocky weather pattern here. We got blocking to the northeast, NAO index going very seriously negative with that upper low, that cold pool of air aloft moving overhead. And this, that cold pool of air, any heavy precipitation will really drag down that cold air and really lock it in. And so we'll get some accumulation here. So let's get right into it. I have the model plots next, as well as my first call snowfall map. Here is the model runs. I'm putting the model plots here because we have a coastal system. This is the coastal system for later Thursday and Friday. Yes, this looks really reminiscent of this past winter. But guess what? This is the middle of April. Yeah, this is what we deal with here in the Northeast. It's total madness. And as a lot of us say here in the Northeast, we have 2 seasons, winter and summer. There's very little in between. But let's get to the point here. We're looking at the Euro. It's all the models are pretty similar here. Euro is in yellow. You got the initial low, the upper level low, coming down from the Great Lakes and then redeveloping here off the New Jersey coastline, really hugging the coastline, even crossing just east of Boston and then up towards Nova Scotia. Canadian, very kind of all over the place. We actually have 3 lows that kind of develop with the Canadian. You have the first initial upper level low, then it kind of redevelops here in North Carolina and then heads another second low up towards Pennsylvania, and then a third low redevelops near Delmarva, heading upward and hugging the coastline late Thursday into early Friday towards Nova Scotia. GFS has the same upper level low to the north, redeveloping into the southern Appalachians here, and then kind of pushing a little bit further out to sea, and then doing a loop here off of New England. The story, though, is kind of the same for each scenario, so the models are really starting to come together here in agreement. Take a look at the snowfall map. This is the first call snowfall map across the Northeast. You can see here, I do have this is the first part of the storm. This takes into account Thursday evening through early Friday morning. And you see most of the snowfall falling across the Catskills, Adirondacks, western Massachusetts, northwestern Connecticut. A little more uncertainty into the state of New Hampshire here, and I'm not ready to include Maine just yet because I want to see future model runs. There is a lot of agreement starting to come in here with these model runs. However, if you look, this is very elevation dependent. You can really follow the contours of these mountain ranges here. And if you look near Binghamton, Scranton, up to Syracuse, in the valleys, we're talking about 1-2 inches tops here. But then you get above the elevation of, say, 1,000 to 1,500 feet. We start to get into 3 to 5 inches. Anywhere above 1,500 feet in these areas, I pretty much have you included into the 5, 6, 7 inch range, isolated areas up to 8 inches there. So the first part of this storm occurring, you see most of the snowfall falling in upstate eastern New York State into western New England. This is where most of the snowfall will be occurring on the first phase of this storm. You see quite a bit of elevation dependency here. Albany, Hudson Valley, much lower elevation. You see I don't have much there, an inch or less. But then you go quickly to the east or just to your west. You go up in elevation a couple hundred feet, and you really start to get into some of those heavy, wet snowfall totals. This will also be the kind of snowfall that could snap some trees and power lines too. So power outages is a bit of concern, especially in the higher elevations. Briefly touching along the severe thunderstorms for Thursday on the southern end of what's left over from the energy of what's going to be happening along the East Coast. For Thursday, we have some severe thunderstorm potential, marginal threat across much of the South Carolinas all the way back through Texas and the Gulf Coast. And then it's here in eastern Texas, Louisiana, and southern Mississippi, and extreme southwestern Alabama. We get that chance of a slight risk. This is not going to be any major severe weather outbreak, but we could see some strong to severe cells in there, produce damaging wind, large hail. Not really expecting any tornadoes at this point. NAO index, let's briefly touch on that. Very negative, but look at that. We'll be seeing a bounce here towards the middle to latter part of April. This should turn us around a bit, especially for the later third into fourth week of April. We'll start to see above normal temperatures yet again. But we got to get through that snowstorm here towards the end of the week. Precipitation totals here across North America. Look at that out west. Not too bad. You know, it's confined to the northwest, but look at that. Along the Gulf Coast, that's where we'll be seeing 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. That's with all those rain and thunderstorms, tropical moisture really kicking in here across that frontal boundary, and that's the same kind of energy that's going to help to produce the East Coast low pressure system, the coastal low. And you see quite a swath of precipitation heading up through the northeast here, anywhere from 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. Weather pattern, upper level pressure systems. Look at this, the jet stream. We have a lot of cutoff lows. That's the theme. Blocky pattern. We got the subtropical jet to the south, and we got the polar jet way up there in Canada. But look at that. Cutoff low in the northwest into the northern plains, and another one here across the northeast. That's going to bring our potential coastal low here with snowfall on the back side of it. So, yeah, this is really interesting to have this right smack dab in the middle of April. Derek Rensselaer from Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. Take a look at this beautiful springtime flowers. Look at that beautiful green grass as well. This looks like a really beautiful springtime scene here. Not to really say it's happening much here in upstate New York, but nice capture there, Derek. And Robert Stone here. Take a look at on his travels up towards Niagara Water. Pennsylvania just off 376 plus 576. Take a look at these nice clouds across the sky. Look at that beautiful landscape. And of course, continuing into Pennsylvania here, look at those clouds. Getting a little bit thicker there on the clouds. This was just the other day on Saturday. So beautiful here across Pennsylvania. Temperatures were in the mid-60s. Take a look at your Wednesday here across the Northeast. Savor this moment because look at this. You have temperatures in the 60s. Yeah. You know why? Because, as you know from previous frames, this isn't going to last. This is going to come to a crashing, grinding halt across the Northeast. And I'm sorry to say this, but, you know, if you do have tomorrow off, Wednesday off, you can really get out there and enjoy it and just, yeah, because Thursday and Friday are just not going to be that nice. And here it is, the beginning of something gloriously horrible. It's a upper level low pressure system riding along a stationary frontal boundary and then a coastal low developing to the south and to the east here. This is just a recipe for horribleness for your Thursday. In fact, this really focuses a lot of the heavier rain, anywhere from 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, heading up from New York City, Scranton, Binghamton, up to Syracuse, and then eventually to Albany later in the day. It'll be a cold rain. It'll keep the temperatures down. And at this point, we won't see much snow, but after sunset, we start to see those temperatures really fall, especially in the higher elevations. That leads to the trouble in the next frame. And here it is, Thursday night. This is the moment of truth. The moment when you realize that all the springtime weather you've had the last 2 weeks is nothing but a farce or a lie or all for nothing. It's really one of those scenarios where you're like, you're going to wake up Friday morning and you're thinking, that bad dream I just had is actually reality. Look at that. Binghamton, Scranton, Albany, Syracuse, Burlington. These areas, yes, you're more in the valleys, so you'll see 1 to 2 inches in each of these cities, but it's the elevations around you especially to the east, to the west of you, wherever your location is. You get into the Catskills, the Poconos, the Adirondacks, and western New England. You really start to get above that 1,500 feet line. You really get into potentially warning criteria, especially advisory, maybe warning criteria. Anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 feet, 3 to 5 inches potentially here. This is heavy, wet snow. It's nothing to mess around with, so it could bring down some trees and power lines too. Temperatures are marginal for snow, especially here in the valleys. We'll still get some accumulation, just mainly on the grassy surfaces, but I think it'll accumulate pretty much everywhere the higher you get up there in elevation. So low pressure really gets cranking here on Thursday night. And where the heaviest snow sets up, that's where the coldest air will set up as well to get those accumulations going. Then we head to Friday, TGIF. There's that nightmare, that leftover hangover, so to speak, from the snowstorm. We'll still be getting snow in the higher elevations here across New England. Stay tuned for this because things could change just slightly depending on the exact low pressure track later on in the storm and how much cold air literally gets dragged down here. You see it really starts to warm up, if you can really call this warm. It is warmer. So you'll have some morning snow around Binghamton, Syracuse, Albany, Burlington, and especially the higher elevations around. But throughout the day, those temperatures will warm above freezing, and we'll start to get the changeover to rain or rain and snow mix. So by this point, the most of the snow that'll be sticking around will be above like 1,400 feet in elevation. We'll still continue scattered showers throughout the day, and then heavier precipitation here into New England. So just a really miserable day. And extended outlook here, look at that. Wow, what a roller coaster ride here. Wednesday, 67, maybe scattered shower later in the day, but probably one of our best days. Thursday, just a cold rain, that 50-degree high will briefly occur probably just before noon here. And then guess what? We literally have to take it down so many notches throughout the day as temperatures fall through the 40s and into the upper 30s. By the time you get out of work, look at that, 32 for your Thursday night, 1 to 2 inches of heavy wet snow in the valleys, maybe 3 inches towards places like above 1,400 feet, like the Binghamton Airport, for example, maybe up to 3 inches, 32 for a low. And to Friday, less than an inch of snow continuing, changing to rain showers in the afternoon. Just a real cold, raw day here, 43 degrees. And then look at that, Saturday, 60 degrees, breaks of sunshine appearing, so not too bad. As always, I want to thank you for joining me for this edition of Weather Northeastern. Don't forget to like me on Facebook at MeteoMark, subscribe to me on YouTube at MeteoMark.com, also Weather Northeastern on Facebook, MeteoMark.com, and WeatherNortheastern.com. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you're alerted when I come out with one of these updates.